Join us on the program right now. Jarome Bell ran in the 2020 election as a primary candidate in Virginia's 2nd District. He's running again. Jarome Bell for Congress. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back. How are you?
Fine. How are you? And I'm glad you're running again, because we have a Republican Party right now that will tell us with a straight face it's the conservative party, it's the America First party. Oh, I'm sorry, they don't say that anymore. But as soon as we give them power, they seem to falter when it comes to things like repealing Obamacare and building a wall. Now you have Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who are, I don't know who their enemy is other than Trump or whatever happened on January 6th, but they're not giving us any ideas.
No, not at all. I think the Liz Cheneys of the world, they're the same as the soft Mitch McConnells and the Paul Ryans. And also since Trump lost, just by everyone that's Republican, a true conservative Republican knows that, they are soft, and they've been too soft. And part of that comes from the fact that we don't understand our opponents. You mentioned, that the Republican Party have ideas. Well, they only have ideas for themselves. They don't have ideas for the American people, it seems like. And you say they don't mention America First. There's only a few of us that mention America First. I ran on America First last year. I was probably one of the first to actually come out as America First with President Trump last year when I ran. And so people jumped on the bandwagon, but you see a lot of them were not America First, because January 6th proved that they were not America First when they let President Trump fall.
I look, and again, I did not defend the people that stormed the Capitol. That made conservatives, or at least Trump supporters, look terrible. It was not legal. It's not First Amendment protected. But we've had a year plus of sustained violence in the major cities, encouraged by the Democrats, and all we hear about is January 6th, January 6th, January 6th.
Well, that's because we don't understand the true ideology of our opponents. We assume too much good on the part of the communist Democrats, and that has to stop from our party. Okay, so I'm going to break it down real quick for you. They lie all the time. If they happen to land on a truthful statement once in a while, we must assume that these violent communists are using that one truth in pursuit of a lie. Let me explain what I mean real quick, okay? The Democrats use lies and their advantage on the playing field to keep Republicans confused. And they keep doing it because it works. It very often, many in the Republican political and media space play right into the hands of the Democrats. Let's take the issue of race, for example. Some of your listeners might have correctly guessed that I'm a black man by listening to my voice. And I'm here to tell y'all, that's okay. That's very okay. But a communist Democrat would tell you that you're racist, you're condemned to hell for the sin of accurately discerning that my voice sounds as if I may have been raised by black parents in a black household. And even worse than that, if you're white, you've sinned, and if you sin like that, the sin is unforgivable. So these communist Democrats, and I like to call them communist Democrats because they are, the same Democrats pushing for mass abortion and all kinds of other evil, are so bold that they go out in public every single day and use morality as if they have any to keep conservatives, white Christians, black Christians, conservative blacks, conservative Latins, conservative Asians, all Americans who built this country cowered into their place. And Andrew, you see, Democrats don't think literally about race. They think about it as a tool, and only a tool. To Democrats, let's say, for example, Clarence Thomas literally is not black. Bill Clinton literally is black. See, race to Democrats is a function of ideology. For these Democrats, race is not a function of biology, only, let's say, socioeconomic background. And people don't know they're not talking about race. They're talking about politics. And when they're talking about politics, they're talking about power. Right? They're not using the term race anywhere close to objectively. Here's an example. Let's look at Nicole Hannah-Jones at the 1619 New York Times, right? De facto editor-in-chief, whatever she is. She slipped up a bit and showed her true self. She's a bully and a liar. And then she deletes her tweets, just like they all do. When they get caught in a lie, they go ahead and delete their tweets. And she said there is a difference between being racially black and politically black. When they say they're talking about having black politics, they don't care about black people. They care about exploiting victim status politics to control black people. I mean, look, they canceled Clarence Thomas's the Supreme Court justice documentary during Black History Month. Kanye West puts on a MAGA hat and they say he's crazy. You know, so all of a sudden they care about Kanye's mental health or whatever. They seem like it. I mean, but they just keep using race, and it's to get and keep power, Andrew.
Well, let me go there then, because to listen to Democrats, there's no black middle class. There's been no black upward mobility. The Trump economy did not create the most jobs for minority Americans in the history of our country, even though it did. Support for historical black colleges and universities was through the roof. Things that I thought the progressives wanted, which was the First Step Act, which was to give a second chance to nonviolent drug offenders. The Democrats now have basically said the actions at the border, right? We have to bring in as many people as possible. If the Democrats' view of black America as, living with discrimination, living with poverty, living with a lack of economic opportunity, if that's true, well, you would think that given the first chance, they would try to fix those things and not move their immediate attention to the border. So when I look at what the Democrats are doing at the border, they say America first is racist. Okay, well, what they're saying is essentially now is that the needs of Americans, what they're proposing for Americans, is just in a basket of priorities that do not prioritize the American citizen.
Right. And these so-called black allies, they keep trying to claim that they're the ones who care about the experiences of blacks. These communists, they basically say to blacks, what do I need to tell you or say to you to get you to do what I want, right? And the funny thing is, they don't care about their hypocrisy. They know exactly what they're doing when they deploy their blatant hypocrisy. The very fact that they're putting blacks into such a pigeonhole is a feature. And understand that it's a feature of their approach. It isn't a bug. In other words, they don't see their hypocrisy as a problem with their approach. So many Republicans are sitting around saying, look at these hypocrites. And that's what a lot of so-called conservative talkers like on Fox News keep doing. Oh, my, the hypocrisy. Well, you know what? I got a news flash for y'all. Communists do not care if they get caught in a contradiction. Democrat communists do not care if you call them out as being hypocrites. In fact, they get off on being called hypocrites and using our morals to rough us over. These communists are creating these contradictions on purpose. Democrat leaders are creating the new battlefield, which most people see as rampant, asymmetrical hypocrisy, and it's done on purpose. The asymmetry is precisely their goal, actually.
All right, so how many people are in this primary? Because last time you ran in a primary as well, so how many people are in it, and how does it look this time versus the last race?
Well, right now, I know that there's two other people that have announced other than myself. A guy that announced last year as well, his name is Andy Bond. He dropped out early in the race last year. And, of course, the establishment, they didn't want to see me, go ahead and beat the Democrat. They wanted to try to put up one of their own. And so she's running a state senator and pretty much a leftist by her voting record in the state Senate, Jen Kiggins. She's running. So I'm not sure who else is. Maybe a guy named Ted Enquist, I think, maybe running. I really don't know who he is. So right now there's probably 3 or 4 of us. And right now, and for me, I think it's looking pretty good because you have to look. I came out of the race last year being a nobody with no money, a staff of 3, to raising $260,000 in 3 months and coming out with 22% of the vote against 2 veteran Republicans. One was a rhino, one was now a 2-time loser because he actually went on to win because me and the other guy split votes. So he became a 2-time loser to the same Democrat. And I came out with 22% of the vote as a first-time runner. So I think that puts me ahead of the game right now. So I'm going to win. I'm the only one that can win against the Democrats because the Democrats actually fear me. They want a Jen Kiggins or Andy Bond or a Ted Rehnquist or whoever else runs. They do not want to see Jarome Bell coming after the Democrats.
I really do think I think I have more fear of the establishment of the Republican Party screwing things up for Republicans than I do of the Democrats, right? I mean, the Democrats are in charge of everything right now, and it's they're doing a pretty bad job. I mean, Republicans should win by default, but it seems like the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers are doing everything they can to damage Republican chances in 2022.
I mean, well, see, because here it is. You had a time when radical and anti-Christian BLM commies and Antifa weirdos and literal terrorists are fighting to turn over the entire American way of life. These weak Republicans, like you say, the Liz Cheneys, the Mitch McConnells, and these Paul Ryan types, okay, they are caving to the radical leftist agenda, even on the most basic of facts, like whether a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. You know, so we don't need any more Republicans dueling in the margins with these ridiculous joke bills. You know, it's time to roll back these communist Democrat agenda of the last 50 years in a serious way, you know, because they really want to finish off America, and they're doing it by destroying the nuclear family, and that's how they absolutely must do it to finish America off. You know, and they're doing it, you know, by really destroying gender.
Yeah, and everything else. I mean, when you have protesters blocking intersections and the police are moving motorists out of the way, not the protesters, we have a problem, sir. We need to get back to 7 million more jobs and there were people to fill them. Tax cuts, regulatory rollbacks, more people making more money, living their best life. And we're not going to get that while the Democrats are trying to kill the oil industry. They're trying to rein in the Second Amendment. They're trying to throw the border open, and they're trying to get control of both education and health care.
Well, you know, and that's what communists do. That's what Marxists do, and that's what we're facing. We're facing a Marxist-communist coup here in the United States. And the bad part about it is that these weak, pansy-ass so-called conservative Republicans are going right along with their plan. And you know why? It's because they're scared. If you look at they're scared. You know, Andrew, I'm going to tell everybody that can listen to your show, everybody in my second district, and I'm not scared. Okay, I didn't serve this country for almost 3 decades, so we can just hand over the destruction of the nuclear family and of America over to a bunch of God-hating communists. Now, unfortunately, you know, we have some of our Republicans that are supposedly representing us are just doing that. You know, there are many Republicans all across American cities, including Richmond, right here in Virginia, that are already caving to the left. And all you have to do is just look at their voting record. Okay, and we cannot have, and I want people to really understand this, because we just, took a loss in the AG race yesterday, where Chuck Smith didn't win, and America First candidate, didn't win. We had a rhino win that race for Attorney General, but we cannot have anyone with those values or principles representing the people of the second district, because or across America, because our very way of lives, the lives of our children, our grandchildren, are at stake. And to the people of the second district and America, because it's 435 of us that make laws for all the citizens across America, I would never, ever lead us down that road to destruction of who we are as a people. Man, woman, boy, girl, Mr., Mrs., aunt, uncle, he or she will never be canceled, because that's who we are as humans. Andrew, God made us that way, and my God doesn't make mistakes. So if anybody that's listening, if you want someone in D.C. that won't cave, that won't back down, that fighter that we all need, that won't sell your values out to the highest bidder, and that will never be canceled, silenced, or put in my place, like I've been told, there's people here in the Republican Party of Virginia Beach that told me I need to wait my turn, I need to be put in my place. I'm not going to be put in my place. So there's really only one choice out of the second district to represent America and the second district, the citizens of second district in Congress in 2022, and that's me, Jarome Bell for Congress.
JaromeBellForCongress.com. I got to leave it there. Take my break. We'll get you back on the program. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. JaromeBellForCongress.com, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right, 166-95 Patriot, 957-2874. We are right. They are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius XM Patriot.